the selection of a chairperson for the Community Relation Committee, and I would support Kate Canetta as chairperson for this committee. I need a motion.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, Al. I need a second. I will second it. Okay, Kate, you can follow on with the agenda.
All right. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to help this committee move forward. So Dr. Seelig, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you and Dr. Mead. I believe you have some updates for us on what's happening in terms of community activity, please.
Yes, we've got 3 more items on tonight's agenda. We'll just provide some updates. Dr. Mead will provide some updates from her department. We'll talk a little bit about the budget, and then some other strategies for advocating for the budget, and a few of the other things happening legislatively that we feel like are going to help our funding position this year. So, Dr. Mead, if you don't mind.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be with you tonight. So, a couple of different community events that we have coming up. First, there on April 5th at Rogers Park, there will be an early childhood fair. This is being run by Action Early Learning Center. We wanted to do it earlier this year so that we had the ability of families to be there early to look at summer opportunities for their children. Our next one is our very own Family University, will be held on April 26th from 9 to 2 at Rogers Park. And both of these events are wonderful opportunities. I know, Kate, you've been there in the past to Family University, where the board set up a table, that you had chairs there where families could come and sit with you. You had note cards of concerns. You put together some really nice charting where folks were able to put down their concerns and have that dialogue with you. We would certainly advocate for that to be done again. That was one of the highlights of what our families really liked, in being able to have those one-on-one or one-on-two, or one-on small group conversations with board members. I think you found it very well to be time well spent. I know, Mrs. Cooper, you were there last year, and a lot of families spent time with you. Our next thing would be to bring back in the Erica Haynes group, the school and state finance project, to do some more workshops. There are some general workshops on how to advocate in your community and at a state level for budget making. We can certainly collect those and send those out in the Office of Family School Community Partnerships weekly blast out to parents. So if they're feeling the need to get more training or to understand the process, those would be workshops that would be really good for them. My next point would be to use any points of contacts that our citywide PTO has. The March meeting is coming up soon again. Kara did an absolute wonderful presentation on the budget at the beginning of February. I think having that type of dialogue at smaller PTO meetings that are school-based would be very, very helpful. I know some of our PTOs are rather small, but there's other ones that gather a fair amount of families. To be able to sit and listen to a short presentation, whether we can get it in different languages or not, would be great. So those would certainly be things that could be done during March and April. The last thing that I hear a lot from the community, and I know that Mr. Gianelli has been, this has always been one of his things. If we could either my department work with Mike and Kate with this group, is to put together 2 or 3 talking points so people know what to say, when to say, who to address it to. Not anything political in contents, but who are our city council people, okay? Yes, we can give them the site to go look at, but these are things that I'm hearing from our ESL students at night. They're not really sure who they should talk to, what they should say to them when they are talking to them. So if we can put together just a very simple card, our department would be glad to do something like that.
You mean, Dr. Mead, in reference specifically to the budget, correct?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Kind of like a cheat sheet that you keep in your pocket, and when you run into someone or you're out at one of these different community events, whether it be at church or something that you're doing internally with, a group of folks, you can pull out this card and speak to the items that are on it.
Thank you, Dr. Mead.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Anne.
Yeah.
So the next item on the agenda was a budget overview. Now, this was originally a meeting scheduled for a couple weeks ago. So this agenda was actually crafted prior to the passage of the budget. So we'd planned to talk a little bit more about the details. But what I'll share is that, everybody knows here it passed on January 22nd. It became the Board of Education budget. And it has since been sent up to the city. We are working on the final details of the budget book. We expect that book to be completed next week. We'll be sharing it with all the board members and the city council, and then a few other for key community members. And that'll contain all the information that we presented in the presentations that we made to finance and the full Board of Education, as well as the line item details that you saw in last year's book. It's going to look a lot like last year's book. Because the reception we received on that one was generally positive. It had just the right balance of kind of narrative and overview, as well as the kind of 3-year trend historical data in the back. And we felt that was the most effective tool for delivering what could be oftentimes a pretty difficult thing to understand. So we hope to have those all to you probably in the first week of March. So. Last but not least, strategies for advocacy. So a couple things happening right now. A budget is not just about what's happening at the local level, as much as the lion's share of that budget's gonna come from the general fund's gonna come from the city council. A significant amount of funding is going to come from the state as well. So we've been working with our lobbyists on some bills that we think could actually bring some significant dollars to the district. There's 2 bills right now that we provided testimony for. One was HB 6869, and that is a bill for dual credit early college. So we submitted some testimony that this would be an incredible bill for us because so much of the academy work that we're launching is dual credit. And if some of those dollars could go towards dual credit, we could see a significant portion of those credits paid for or covered by the state, depending on what the ultimate language of that bill is. So that was one bill we submitted testimony for. There was another bill, 6864, which was the governor's general education budget. So us and I think there were several, over 100 people. I know members of the city testified on this bill at the Appropriations Committee last week. Just talking about the need for more funding, changing the ECS formula so that it's more favorable to districts like Danbury. So those are 2 bills we're watching that we're hopeful would be able to bring enough dollars to potentially offset what we need the city to provide. CABE is sponsoring a Day on the Hill on March 12th.
Mike, I'm sorry. I'm so
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, Mike, but just
Yeah.
a quick question for you. I know that there's also a bill moving through session right now that pertains to special education funding in particular. Did you
Yes.
have any feedback on that?
The feedback I can give you is that everybody's talking about this one. Kara, please jump in if I missed anything. This one's probably getting the most buzz out of any bill. We're supporting testimony on this bill as well, and we will, hopefully just get more information as it comes through. This is really early stages of the session. It's where and I've learned the way Connecticut works. A lot of these bills will never actually get put into law as the bills as they stand, but there's a big implementer bill at the end where if you make sufficient noise early on, then that language will kind of go into this big kind of omnibus bill at the end with funding attached to it. Special ed might actually be one of those bills that passes through on its own power. So this is of course the excess cost formula for special ed, where we get a significant portion of special ed costs back from the state. And this bill would actually change the equation to help, again, be more favorable to towns like Danbury. So we would see more. We're still trying to figure out just, because the equation for this is the formula is pretty complicated. So we're still trying to figure out if they push on this, it makes it look like this goes up, but then this goes down. And, there's so many different ways to figure these things. We're still, working with our lobbyists to figure out, what the language would be that would be most favorable
Yeah.
to Danbury.
I think I'm bringing this up. Dr. Casimiro, did you have something?
No, I just to mention, I think there's some background. Yeah, thank you. There is right now, the governor has allocated $40 million to help with, covering the excess cost. And I believe there's some immediate benefit to that. And then there's money, I believe, that's contributed to the second year of the biennium budget. And what the excess cost is, and this is where there's a lot of consternation around the rapid rising costs of special education outplacement tuition. There's no control, there's no cap on this. There's limited facilities. Everyone's scrambling for slots at certain facilities. And therefore there's a supply and demand kind of thing that's happening with that. So the excess cost piece really refers to the contribution that the school district is responsible for, up to 4.5 times the average cost of the student, of a typical student for the year. So you would be able to apply for that, once you've reached beyond 4.5 times what you would normally spend for a typical student, you're eligible to receive that amount back to the school system. It actually goes through to the city, and the city either, passes it back to you in the next budget, or however the city decides to work that. But for us, there's a possibility, if everything goes smoothly, we'll get between $300,000 and $400,000 this year, potentially, with final approval. And then any additional monies, coming forth, we'll be able to recoup some cost depending on the percentage that the state is willing to reimburse us. All the superintendents, everybody across the state is going for 100% reimbursement of excess cost. So it remains to be seen where that's going to fall. But it seems as if the governor has put some effort towards this to some capacity. So still remains to be seen.
Thank you for
Sorry
the
if that was
feedback.
long-winded.
No, that's okay. It's good. It's important for people to understand how these things operate. And I just want to bring some number information to this discussion. When we talk about 4.5 times the cost of educating a student, in our district, that's about $76,000, give or take. So
Right.
every dollar that we spend as a district beyond $76,000 on a
Yep.
single student,
Yep.
that's what we can submit to the state for reimbursement of the
Correct.
costs. And historically, that percentage has been anywhere from 40% to 70% on the dollar.
Yep.
So that means every dollar we spend above $76,000, we can get between 40 and 70 cents back per dollar. And
Correct.
so then when they talk about that 100% funding, we'd be talking about trying to get,
The full
dollar for
dollar.
dollar what we're spending.
Yes.
But also just to give some context here, when we talk about a $40 million allotment for special education, it sounds like a lot, but when you talk about the cost of tuition for outplacement of a student, which can run easily up to, $300,000, $350,000,
Mhm.
you're really translating to about 120, 125 students that would be, the cost of their outplacement could be covered. So it's
Absolutely.
really not as much as it
It's not.
sounds like.
It's not, right. And it's a growing, it's a growing concern. And we, our numbers, our percentage of our numbers in Danbury, we've hovered around 14% for a very long time. This year we upticked a little bit to 15%. But of the 15%, we are seeing more significant situations that require some more outplacements. And in any given year, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 students move into a district that we're responsible for that need several $100,000 placement. So it can swing budgets dramatically, and then the smaller districts in particular, I mean, it could have dramatic effects. So there's a lot of movement around this right now to try to get some relief on this. They're asking for other things like tuition cap costs. They're asking for more state-run facilities to kind of reduce the cost so that it's more predictable. So there's a lot of discussion.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt, Mike. You were talking
No,
about
not at
Cave on
all.
the Hill on March 12th.
Great, great, great
It's the big
context.
topic.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, as is always the case with state funding, the funding always lacks the need by a few years, right? We know Alliance was a couple years behind. Sped excess cost is going to be a couple years behind, and you just have to hope that they come out big enough to make a real dent in it, even if it's not everything. So, okay, March 12th is our Cave Day on the Hill. That's going to be sort of a breakfast meeting, and the way it works is, and I hope board members will join us as we go up there. There's going to be a lot of folks from Cave and also surrounding districts in that meeting, and we'll go into a room and they'll bring through a bunch of the legislators that serve on the ed committees and the appropriations committee, and we'll get a chance to ask questions and and be heard. So that's March 12th, and Kara Pompano will be reaching out to see if anyone's interested in joining us. I will be up there, and hope to see board members as well.
Thank
We
you,
are
Mike.
still working on a Danbury Day. I was chatting with Rep Santos, who's trying to spearhead this for us. We don't have a day yet, but we're hopeful we will, and we'll send that information out to the board and, of course, the broader community as soon as that day is set. And then back to local, we have 2 dates on the calendar for City Hall. April 1 will be the day that the Board of Ed presents their budget to the City Council. And then the actual vote on the budget, on the full mayor's budget, will be on May 6th. So those are some upcoming dates to just have in your calendar.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Seelig. I certainly would invite the community at large to be present for that April 1st meeting. We do expect that there will be an opportunity to speak about the budget request from the board and the city budget as well. That has yet to be scheduled, but there is typically a public hearing that happens within a week or two of the council meeting. And that is a great opportunity for anybody who is interested in expressing their thoughts on it to share that with the council that's there.
Thanks,
So,
Kate. And we'll certainly provide updates if that we've already had one date change on that. If anything changes, we'll certainly notify the committee and the community as well. So.
thank you very much, Dr. Seelig. Are there questions from any of the committee members here? Okay, seeing none. Any questions from anyone else who's present in the room with us today?
I would just like know, not so much as a question, but as we move forward to inform the parents about the budget, I think it would be a great idea, as we did last year, I think at Broadview, where the parents came in, we had a little bit of this for the children, and use that type of encouragement to get parents to come out, even if we have to face paint the kids or do whatever we had to do. And it was an overall good session. And I think you're not going to be able to get everyone to the different affairs, but if you get a smaller group that comes in and you can dialogue with them and they more or less understand it, and they can take back to their community whoever they're dealing with and encourage them to go to the next one that we haven't. So I don't know what the suggestion is for setting up community uh, um, workshops, not so much workshop for the budget, but I think we have to have them done in the community in order for people that not like us, that so many of us don't understand the budget in detail, to really understand and to understand what we are asking for and why we need that money.
Thank you, Gladys. I couldn't agree more. We talked about the possibility of setting a date. I certainly, would want to defer to Dr. Casimiro's schedule because I think she's a really important part of getting that information out there. And she does a really wonderful job of explaining it in a way that is accessible to people, which is super important. I agree the presentation last year at Broadview, I think, was very helpful in activating folks. So I guess I wonder if we could look
Throw
at
some dates
schedules,
out.
and we don't have to do it right now, because I
Yep.
understand there's a lot going on, but, I think we could take that conversation up and work together as a committee, and as a full board, truthfully, because I think that the budget is something that requires all of our support, to bring a opportunity like that forward again.
Right. Yeah, and I'm thinking just from a timing wise perspective, that maybe that last week of March, that kind of is a good week to build a lot of awareness. And then, the following week you have opportunities, folks will have opportunities to kind of engage at the city level with the things that are starting to happen in April. So if we maybe target that last week of March, I think that would be a good week to talk about. We can certainly take a look at what's available. If we can do in person, we can do a Zoom community conversation. The in person is good. We tend to not have as many people come, but we can also televise it. We can have Ken maybe make sure that it goes live. So for the folks who can't come and participate in person, we could have it broadcast, and then have that video that we can put on the website for anybody else who couldn't make it, and we can continue to circulate the video, with going over the budget, folks Q&A. It'll be a little harder to pull off a more involved student piece now that the school year started, but certainly we could probably try to pull off a little face painting and try to see if we can get some of our high school folks to come and make sure that the kids that get dropped off in the cafeteria are safe. We might not be able to do the food this time. There was a lot about allergies and stuff. It was a very complex thing. If we had a little more time, we could probably pull it off, but definitely we can come up with some modified activities so that parents can enjoy listening to the budget without and having the kids make sure that they're occupied for a good hour. I think we can pull that off.
Well, looking ahead at
Sure.
the calendar, it looks like March 26th, so that would be the Wednesday right before our April 1st meeting. That is a community relations meeting that's set up to be right before the Board of Ed regular meeting. So that's a Wednesday night. So, maybe we could do something to jump on that. Maybe, we could back it up an hour or two and have it at a school closer to dismissal. I think there's some ways to play with that, or maybe do a Zoom right then as well. Invite the community. So
We could,
just a few options.
any possibility of converting that meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Maybe start at 5:45.
Mm-hmm. Do a Zoom and just
What do you mean?
Not so much a
convert?
Zoom, but
Okay.
to have it in person somewhere, Mike, and
at a
have it
school.
at a school.
Yeah, I think that will
Um,
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Or,
have
I
the
mean,
board meeting at that school right afterwards.
yeah, we could try that. Try to think. I mean, we've done Broadview Library before. It worked out. Seemed to
Yep.
be okay. So, all right, let's look into that, and let's see what we can, make sure there's no other events happening
Mhm.
at the school.
So
and-
just so I understand, we're talking about maybe doing a presentation closer to the end of the school day, and then scheduling the community relations meeting for that same location, or are we talking about something else?
I think it's using the community relations meeting to have the presentation.
To do the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
we can continue to talk about it offline a little bit and make sure everything's available and what our options are that week. And if not, certainly there's some other opportunities that week. Tuesday evening would also work as well. So
I know that last time we did this, we tried to schedule something on a weekend day, because I know that it can be tough with, parent schedules and that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yep.
And I certainly appreciate, the time that you guys both offer to the community at large. So I don't want to put additional pressure there, but I just want to throw that out as food for thought.
to do it on the weekend.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the 29th. We could definitely think about that as well. Yeah, we could definitely look to see what we have on the weekend.
I know we were quite ambitious with our planning last time. to your point,
Yeah.
and maybe it doesn't have to be quite as ambitious. Maybe
Sure.
it could be, an hour or two, and
Yeah.
that's that.
Right.
But I do think, that in-person contact is also can be very important for folks.
Agreed. Yep. Like a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, Mike, when is the parent university?
I don't have it
April.
in front of
It's-
me.
It's
Oh,
April.
it's too
26th.
late. It's past. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, and that's the 26th, which is a conflict for me. Okay.
right.
I was thinking that could be a session, right? A running session in that. I'll look into that as well. Okay. All right, Mike and I'll do a little reconnaissance on buildings, rentals, who's available, and how that might play out that week.
All right, thank you very much. And
Sure.
we can certainly pick that conversation up via email.
Sure.
Great.
All right. Any questions or concerns from anybody on the call at this point? All right, seeing none, I will look for a motion to adjourn, please.
I will be happy to make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Al. Make your motion at 7:28. May I have a second, please?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Gladys. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. I appreciate your time.